Hi, I could not get the Zoom to work. I couldn't get it to work. It just wouldn't download the recording. Okay, but anyways, I'm Gabriel. I'm going to be talking about the definition of family, or specifically Murdoch's definition of family, and how it is harmful to families that don't fit the definition. Okay, so Murdoch's definition of family is a social group characterized by common residence, economic cooperation, reproduction, and sexuality. Okay, so this definition in itself is a media frame or an ideological code because it is, it's an ideological code because it's reinforcing cultural ideals, and it does that by just defining what a family is, and it reinforces the idea, especially when it comes from someone who's credible, or someone who's scholarly. And it's also a media frame because it frames what it means to be a family. So this definition is very harmful because it is limiting, and when families don't fit this box, they are negatively impacted. So an example of this, and something I found in my data, here are the families I found. Sorry, I know it's going to be backwards, but at least you can see the pictures, and I will read the data. But in the families that I reviewed, 85% of these families focus on a married couple. So this is a problem because any family that isn't a part of a married couple will be seen as inferior, other. Um, uh, and this is a problem because when you're not labeled as a family, you don't get all the positive ideas that coincide with that idea of family. So if you're not the typical family, you're not loving, you're not caring, you're not contributing to society, you're not civilized, or for example, like a family with a single mother may be looked at as not civilized or just inferior in general. And this is obviously a problem because it affects just how the family feels, because obviously how other people view us affects us emotionally, but it can also affect them different ways. Um, and this is in any family that doesn't fit the norm. For example, I also found in all these families, 95% of these families are of a heterosexual, or focus on a heterosexual couple. This is a problem because then families who aren't uh, heterosexual or heteronormative are viewed as inferior, not valid, and this can be a huge problem. For example, if a gay couple has a kid that goes to school, and then um, their gay marriage or gay parenthood isn't normalized, other families will view them as taboo. And this could be a problem because, it's important that families in school are connected, that the community is connected. And if a gay couple isn't connected, they're not getting those benefits of being connected. Like they might not be tapped into the extracurriculars, or just information regarding the school in general. And this not only affects the family, but it could affect the kids' education. So there are real impacts, heavy impacts from these limiting media frames, these ideological codes that create a stigma or taboo that for the families that don't fit the media frame, or a definition of being a family. Some other data that I found in these families, which, by the way, the only family that wasn't heteronormative was the Boondocks, where the grandpa isn't gay, or, well, there isn't a heterosexual marriage, and that's only because the parent or the caretaker is the grandpa, and he's not gay. He's homophobic. So even when the family isn't depicting a heterosexual couple, it's still heteronormative. So that's unfortunate. But some other data I found is 60% of these families are white. Um, and that's just bad. That's I hate when uh media just shows white skin only. Like, it is so important that people of color see themselves in media so they can relate to these characters and think, oh, this black girl is achieving things, whether it's fiction or it is nonfiction. It doesn't matter. They relate to the characters and they're able to see themselves in them. And when the character is something they admire and look up to, they can dream to become that. But when everyone's white, a person of color will feel out of place. They may even feel like, oh, I'm not white. I can't do these things that they're doing in movie. Like, I feel inferior. So this depiction of family media is just very influential. Um, Something I did want to say though, well, lastly, two other findings I found is 100% of these families focus on biological offspring. This is also bad because not all families are of biological offspring, and I think adopted families are pretty normalized now. So I think this is probably less of an important impact, but still, adopted kids should still feel represented in media for the same reason as people of color should feel represented in media. Um, you don't People shouldn't feel like an other. They should feel represented, or they should be able to connect to these characters in media. It's just a positive interaction. Humans are learning through story is very important for humans. Hi. Okay, so there was one last thing that I wanted to talk about before the deadline cut me off last time I was recording. I was actually pretty happy with what I said in the last recording. But I wanted to talk about fictive kinship. I talked about all the negative impacts that Murdoch's definition of family has. I wanted to compare it to fictive kinship because I feel like this definition or idea of family is just way better. It's not limiting. It's like the opposite of Murdoch's definition. And basically, also I was looking for I first read of fictive kinship and first heard about it from the family in question reading. And I tried to find a creator or like who it originated from. I couldn't really find it, but I know from class that it comes from feminism, which is cool. And anyways, so fictive kinship basically just describes family or kinship as just a close tie. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty loose definition, but it kind of just says that anybody can be family. Like, it's not bound by blood. And I like that because I feel like, one, it's true. Like, for example, adoption. Like, when you adopt a kid, that kid becomes a part of your family. And they're not of blood. Like, obviously, they could have the same house. So there's other ways to tie someone to family. But I don't see why you should tie. Like, why do you need these strict ties? I could understand a legal a legal need for to define what a family is, so that we can allocate resources to families and not just like a group of friends that are abusing the system or something like that. And when it comes to that, I think, yeah, blood can be useful, but at the same time, like, why not allocate it to like a group of friends? Because, like, I understand that idea of family comes from blood and having kids, and they're actually related to you. But why not, like, if there are going to be benefits for a family, and that's why you need to define what it means to be a family, why not have those benefits for any group of people that are taking care of each other? Like, so really, is there any need to define family, or not define it, but bound it to a definition and limit it and put it in a box? I don't see why. And I feel like people already don't do that. Like, people will call their best friend a cousin, or, that's just how humans are. And I think a less dividing definition of family, like, oh, we're not blood, we're not family. If the idea that everyone could become family, I feel like is an awesome idea. That, like, it just seems to um, solve all the problems that Murdoch's definition causes. And I could see people getting mad at it, but I don't see why they should. So yeah, I just want to talk about fictive kinship and how I think it's a way better way to describe family. Not only because it has less negative impact, or no negative impact, or not that I can think of. I could think of positive impacts, but also because it's just more accurate. It's just more true. So yeah.